Shalom is real quick video giving all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakah Kadash Barakatah Yahweh Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostle, elder bishops, great millstone. Much salutation to the brother teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be elect, most high will. To the hopeful extended elect, shalom, blessings. The Bill C-9, known as the Combating Hate Act, is a Canadian law. Brothers are doing videos about this. Amends the criminal code to strengthen protections against hate crimes, public displays of hate symbols, and the intimidation of marginalized communities. It officially received royal assent on June 18, 2026. It's June. Ain't no microchips, man. And officially came into force on July 18, 2026. And we told you this was coming. The act addresses several key areas regarding hate, propaganda, and public safety. And, they have sleeper cells in America, and, I think even Iran was threatening to have something happen on the American soil, and if that happens, and anything can happen, they'll definitely say, well, this contributing hate speech of the Israelites. It prompts, encourages, domestic terrorism. It can easily, link us to it in some fashion along these lines of how we're, disrupting peace, disturbing the freedom and liberty that they pronounce, And you gotta be also you gotta be paid off to not teach that Most High hate the nations. You gotta be paid off. These people are. They took the bag, so they don't feel the oppression of these nations because they got money. So of course, even in this, scheme of things, like they're gonna be like, well, we being subject to payments, we being under these heathens, we having to report to them. I mean, anytime we have to go to the dentist or the doctor or something, there's a damn heathen. There's a Moabite, there's a Elamite, there's a Hamite, whatever. There's a Cushite, and put on on these prominent positions, even judges in the court system, Moab, Elam, and all that. So you definitely feel the effects. That's a part of our curses, of course, being subject to payments, but it definitely speaks volumes when these nations, are part of that confederacy, like it says in Psalms 83. So, that confederacy is still happening to this day. They're still making money off of Israel, so-called Black, Latino, and Native Americans, still setting up in the ghettos or in borderlines of the ghettos, whatever. Still setting up in the neighborhood, taking the money, and it's gonna get worse, man. It's gonna get worse, and these nations they're not gonna fend for Jake. They're gonna look the other way. They're gonna, they got their hands in the bag. They're not gonna be out there protesting with Black Lives Matter, even though that's a damn joke. That shit is a damn joke, man. And all this stuff, and on the grounds of America, the soil of America, that tends to, proclaim that they enact, rights for citizens, is a damn lie. Emancipation proclamation is a damn lie, you know. So, but they're gonna flip it and they're gonna make it, to where, hey, Bill C9 protects the citizens of whatever country passes the bill. So if you talk about Jesus, you basically, if America passes, which will come to pass, they're gonna do something. They might not call it Bill C9, whatever but they're gonna be a part of this, stopping the prophets on the highways and byways, tending to stop the prophets on the highways and byways. Most High said His word don't come back void, paraphrasing. So, but they did it to Daniel. They did it to the prophets. They did it against Yahweh Shai, through Yahweh Shai's people, His so-called people. His people is really the elect, but His own people said, of Israel, said, crucify Him, crucify Him. That His blood be upon us and our children. And Pilate was fending for Him in a way to where He was going to release Him, but they said they want Barabbas, and instead of Yahweh Shai to be released. So they and we know scriptures, it says subject to payments, and certain waiting time that we endure before the end of this world, we have to, abide by these rules and laws to a certain extent. It says, Romans 13:1, let every soul be subject to the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. That powers that be are ordained of the Most High. So yeah, that's why we can't come against Esau. That's why we don't build military war weapons to come against them. Neither have secret plans to plot to build an inner secret black community to where, will tend to cause trouble to the land. That's going to be the Most High. But, their powers, they're going to be subject to the Most High too. They gotta subject themselves in some kind of way too, to consider what is said of the prophets, because, hey, like starting with the apostle, elder bishops on down, the king listens to the prophets like Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel. As an example. What does it say? Subject to payments. And the prophets went through this too. So, it says spirit of the prophets subject unto the prophets, 1 Corinthians 14:32. That's a part of the calling, because, the opposition is going to be there. Regardless, the opposition was there already, even before we became prophets. They always hated Jake. A lot of Jakes are just now finding out how deep that hatred is. We're expressing how deep that hatred is, and they don't like it, of course. Thought that was I think that's in the Apocrypha, But, so they're going to try to bind us, even if it's small. The small crimes are going to become heavy. They're going, what I'm saying? Like with the draconian laws, like they might even, if you have been used to tickets being like $40, they might up at $70, and then they might triple it. They might, on the second, if you miss a second payment, they might just be harsh. Well, they are going to be harsh in some kind of way with these small, mediocre, so-called mediocre laws. But they're going to add to the law. They like these bills they're passing. It says, subject to payments, King James Version. Baruch 3 and 8, it says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse. And this is the curses we're going through, being subject to these, not only Edom, but subject to these other nations. So why would the Most High save these other nations? We're still in this captivity under them. They still have their hand in the cookie jar along with Esau, pressing and oppressing the Israelites, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers which departed from the Lord our power. Now, it also says, rejoice, O daughter of Zion, the punishment of your iniquity has been accomplished. So we're gradually at the end of our punishment. We're moving toward the end of our punishment, even professing that in the spirit of Yahweh Yahushai, we're free in Yahushai. We're free in Yahweh Yahushai. So by Hashem Rakakadash and the Holy Spirit. So, that's one reason too that the spirits are showing that, the Most High is showing that through the spirits, through men, that we've been out on, starting with the apostles on down, elder bishops on down, 40 years, 30, 20, 10, younger brothers, 5 and, on, the new brothers. But that's a long time to be, saying these things about the devil, saying these things about America, and it was basically a chess move because they really can't really attack it like the old way of doing things, because they have to abide by certain rules of their own by not ruffling feathers. Not, they have to play chess. It is like a chess game. So, they haven't, how boisterous and encouraging High Priest Ariel was, and they still, they still let it roll, but they, that whole thing with the comfy thing and him, that was he got paid with the bag. I mean, the comfy dude himself, Jerome something, I forget his last name. But, and Most High took him out. So, they figured if they could get the head and certain head leaders that the body will fall well. Most High set up the apostles last. It says that in the scriptures. So they're dealing with, now they be like, man, that didn't work. So now they just gradually planning and plotting for this. 1 Corinthians 4:9, for I think that the Most High has set forth us, the apostles, last, as it were appointed to death, for we are made a spectacle to the world and to angels and to men. And that's what people don't know, the world don't know, that angels are going to get involved. There's going to be some angelic things happening. They sense things in certain levels of the spirit, that when the Most High revealed certain things to them. Even with, Naza and the chariots, dreams that they may have, prophetic, but they're not going to tell nobody. They're not going to tell anybody. But they toss and turn, like the scriptures say, and the Most High shows them things. Nebuchadnezzar, he was dreaming and he was troubled by it, what it meant, and he needed to be interpreted. And so, he called his magicians, astrologers, they couldn't figure it out. And then Daniel came and told him what it meant. He started shaking and all that. And even his son Belshazzar, shook by what, what was the handwriting on the wall. The end of their kingdom. This is the last leg of Rome. This is the modern day Babylon. It's happening all over again. We're talking about that statue, Daniel, and it said, what did it say? The stone was paraphrasing, carved out, or and smite the statue, it says image, smite the image. So Yahweh Shai is that stone, and it talks about him being the cornerstone of this building. So they and we're talking about his return. So they know about that. A guy back then who they called Black Superman. We're not saying that was Yahweh Shai, but it was an angel, definitely, to where he said, you might have, not want me, you don't want me here. They couldn't kill him. He didn't want me here, but there's men that's going to come after me that you weren't able to stop, to have the powers like I did, where he had power to where his body came back together after they cut him up, and sent it to each of his body parts to different regions of a land, and he still came back together alive, and told them that. So, they know these things, and we're not alone, and that's why they always say that we're not alone, because they know, and it's a bad omen over America, judgment, and we're not the only ones saying that. Their own people are saying that. You can find an average Edomite, maybe a prominent Edomite, that say, yeah, I believe America is Babylon. Yeah, I believe America is going to be destroyed for all the rotten things, crooked things she has done, And it's not really to these nations, because Most High don't even care about these nations. It's about what they've done to Israel, the apple of his eye. So, yeah, these things are coming to pass, man. Anyway, didn't want to make it too long. To the next video, Shalom.